Hello and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Mike.
And I'm Hussein.
And today we've been to see Tron Ares, the third film in the Tron series, although you could call it a legacy sequel to a legacy sequel, I think, because Tron came out in 1982. Then the sequel came out in 2010, so waiting almost 30 years for that, and we've been waiting another 15 years for this.
Yes.
So these films are kind of slowly in the making. The first Tron had kind of a cult following. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was. Let me just see. Actually,
it wasn't a success.
Yeah, it had a 17 million budget and made 50. It's all right, but it built up a cult following because of the way it presented computers. It was in the early days of computing, particularly personal computing, and it was full of imagination of what the inside of the computer could look like. And it imagined programs as people, and it imagined the world as a grid, and it's called the grid. That's, you know, colourful and made of light, and it had some very early 3D graphics as well. Then the second film took all of that and just multiplied it by billions. I mean, it looks incredible. That's the main thing people really remember. And
that's all I remember about it, actually.
Yeah, like, it wasn't an amazing story. And I would say in particular, Garrett Hedlund, who was the protagonist of it, is really not very good in it at all. But I mean, it really captured people. The soundtrack was incredible by Daft Punk, and it combined electronic and orchestral music. And I mean, I still listen to it. It's used in F1. It has been for 15 years because it sounds so cool still, you know. And the look was incredible. I saw it at the IMAX, and I don't think it was an IMAX film, but it had, you know, kind of expanded stuff to look great on that sort of screen. It was amazing. And that's been very fondly remembered. So there's an audience for this. And from what I've seen of the response to this, it's kind of come down into two camps, which is, if you liked it, then you were saying, it's incredible to look at, shame it's so shit. And if you didn't like it, you were saying, it's really shit, but it's incredible to look at. Like, essentially everyone's saying the same thing. My personal response is that it's not shit. I actually really liked it, and I think it has a lot of good things. It's not amazing.
No, it's not amazing.
One of the best things about it is its look, though.
It is. It looks fantastic.
Yeah. So this is directed, we should say, by Joachim Rønning. Norwegian, a name that didn't come to mind immediately for me, but he's directed a Pirates of the Caribbean film. He's directed Kon-Tiki, which was nominated for Best Foreign Language film at the Oscars, and he directed the sequel to Maleficent, which we did see and didn't like, although I think we liked its look. So that, you can draw a line between those two.
Yes. Well, the film looks fantastic, like really fantastic. And it moves well, and I like the action in it. I think all of the themes, and particularly the ending, it has kind of this hippie, new agey thing that I just didn't like, really.
What's the hippie, new agey thing?
The hippie, new agey thing is James Bridges' appearance.
Jeff Bridges.
Going, oh man, when he's supposed to be like a bloody computer chip, really, you know?
Well, he is a human who decided to live his life in the computer ultimately. But.
Okay, well, I suppose that's more of a rationale. And then the whole ending with Jared Leto talking about exploring life and...
Yeah, you know, that's kind of where these things come down.
I mean, really.
So we should say, you know, that is kind of a bit of a spoiler as to how things go, but we should say what it's about, which is that the world in which Tron has always been set is a world in which you can get sucked into the computer. There's like particle lasers devices that suck people into the computer. You become digitized, and then you act out things in the computer. That's how the first two films went. This film reverses that, and now things are being brought out of the computer into real life using the same particle laser. Flips into reverse. Now you can build anything you want. Like, it's like, you know, really sort of advanced 3D printing. So the digital people, the programs, and the digital entities can all be created in the blink of an eye, pretty much, in reality. And a company is trying to, you know, perfect this and sell this to the military in particular. It's always to the military. But what they haven't told the investors and the military and everybody else is that the stuff that they can make only lasts for 29 minutes before it crumbles into dust. They're trying to solve this with what's called the permanence code. So they're looking for that. Other people are looking for that, people who have much better intentions. And the guy running this big company is trying to hack into a rival company. And he's doing that with the use of a program he's written called Ares, named for the god Ares, the god of war. And so this program is played by Jared Leto. You've seen him in the trailers, who I initially kind of thought was a bad choice, because I think he's kind of, I don't know, I'm never really sure about Jared Leto, I suppose. I actually really ended up rather liking him in this.
Well, he's okay, but also he's a bit dull. And there's something, I mean, he is 50 odd and he looks 25 in the film. Yeah, like, you know, the face is all smooth and I don't know how much work he must have had done. Which, you know, it doesn't work against the role that he's playing in the film. And he is meant to be, I suppose, inexpressive. So I don't have any fault with him particularly, though I also don't think he adds much.
I suppose, yeah. Someone else could add more, I suppose. But he did the trick for me, I've got to say. So he plays a program that is designed as this security program, and it's a program that's used for hacking, it's used for securing its own system, but it's so advanced, and the film is really building on the kind of the last few years' advances in AI, in the kind of the chat GPT years, where you know, chatbots are very, very advanced now. You can get real results out of them, and they speak to you in very human ways. He's really building on that, this character. So the question is, does he have some form of life? So he starts to disobey his programming. He's given orders by the big baddie who runs the company, and starts to question them, which is not what a program's supposed to do. He's supposed to obey his programming. He starts to question them, starts to go against them, starts to seize things in the rival company, or a particular person associated with the rival company that he has queries about. He wants, you know, you see that thing of empathetic response. You know, you go, oh, why is he recognising an empathetic response, and how is he going to deal with it? So he's looking for life. That's what this permanence code represents, is life to him. He's no longer trying to seek it for the benefit of his master, his company. He's trying to seek it for himself. And that's where, you know, all that stuff you're talking about comes in about spoilers. Now that I have life, what am I going to do with it? How am I going to explore the world? The film also, because it has this thing about this 29 minutes, that everything dies after 29 minutes, it has to hang a lampshade at the end on the fact that at the end of the second film, another character from the computer was turned into real life, Cora, played by Olivia Wilde. That's the ending of that film, is that she's brought into the real world and gets to explore it for herself and see a sunrise for real. And you're like, okay, so it has happened. Did she die after 29 minutes? And it's like, no, the film has to admit that, well, she didn't. She's out there somewhere. So it kind of, like, how exactly they deal with it, it's just like, yeah, we mentioned it, we know it's there, we just kind of ignore it. Anyway. So the film is asking that question. It brings up Pinocchio even, in just like a, you know, like a kind of jokey line of dialogue, but that is the fundamental sort of theme the film's going for, is what is life, what does it mean to be alive.
The film has as a background story both Pinocchio and Frankenstein.
Yeah, it mentions that too.
But anyway, I mean, I think this is all by the by, really. If the film has any kind of complex themes, I miss them. It's a really great-looking film that kind of moves very well, but that has unresolved dramatic conflicts and underdeveloped characterization. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to know more about the black woman who is Jared Leto's underling. You know, what is motivating her? Why, you know, what is she obeying? Why is she...
You mean the other security program,
yeah,
Athena?
His antagonist, yeah, Athena, that's right.
Yeah, so when Ares goes rogue, Athena is upgraded to become the master control program, and now she takes it. Jodie Turner-Smith plays her.
And she's very good.
Yeah.
You know, she's very threatening. Yeah, but also you think, well, you know, is she just a robot following the letter of the command? Or does she have some kind of, you know, ulterior motive? I mean, you know, if he's gained in some consciousness, why hasn't she? Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's the program that hasn't malfunctions, that is acting according to her programming.
Well...
But I think there's also the vague suggestion, because right at the start of the film, the opening of the film, is watching Ares be developed and improved and patched and upgraded and deployed. So, you know, we're being shown Ares as the ultimate, the most advanced version of this. We're not shown her as that. So, yeah, I think we kind of read into that in reverting to essentially a previous version, she doesn't have everything that Ares has, but she will follow her orders.
Well, you know, okay, that might be an excuse for a machine, but, you know, there's also not very much motivation for the Evan Peters character, or indeed for Gillian Anderson, or kind of, to me those are all kind of plot points, ciphers. They're not people.
I mean, I suppose that. I mean, it was all very simple to me. It was legible, but it's not complex.
Yes.
I mean, I'll totally give you that. But I don't think there was like no motivation. They were very easy to read, I think.
Okay.
If anything, that's criticism.
They were too easy to read. They were one-dimensional characters.
Yeah.
Okay. So
there's a little complexity there.
That's what being underdeveloped means.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to give you that, but it all it made sense though. It made sense. It was just extremely simple.
Yeah,
as it was from the other side,
unsatisfyingly simple.
As it was from the goodies side.
Yeah. No, kind of. I think all of the characters are one-dimensional, which is to me a problem.
It's very much like the old, like the good guys wear the white hat and the bad guys wear the black hat, and they just fight each other. Like it is no more complex than that.
I know, and yet I think it's a lost opportunity because it looks so great, and actually for the first time. Because I read New Romancer when it came out, right? And, I could never quite picture what being inside a computer was like.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the first film that made that kind of visually legible to me. Yeah, kind of all those red lines, yes. And, the move from inside the computer to outside the computer and the merging of those worlds. I thought it was, fantastic, really.
I think the film has a good handle on how to visually imagine things that we see just on a screen in reality. So hacking happens right at the start of the film, or towards the start of the film, where Ares and a team of other programs is deployed to hack into the rival company's system, and we're showing them doing that through. They literally open a hole, so that everything's color coded, as you say. So the good guys are blue, the bad guys are red, and so the blue wall, digital lines, light, and all the rest of it is has a red hole opened up through it, through which they climb. That's hacking, right? It's great.
Yes.
I mean, that kind of stuff, really enjoyable.
I love that.
Lovely, simple, kind of crunchy sort of visualization.
I love the opposite as well, when the computer goes into the real world and those lines that they make as they race through become solid.
Yes.
And become barriers. I love the concept.
So cars then crash into them and leap off them and stuff. And really good.
So I thought that was fantastic. And I enjoyed watching it very much. It's just, it also feels, well, like you said, it's not great. Yeah, and you think it kind of could have been, really. Yeah, because I think, the visuals and a kind of a structure to the story is so good that it just feels a pity that, it kind of doesn't live up.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like that real world element of it too. And that's like a huge amount of the film is set. Most of the film is set in the real world, right? Yes. So we've previously been used to the films being set inside the computer, and ultimately the humans want to get back to the real world if they can.
And it's interesting because in most of the film, the real world and the computer world merge, or to a degree. Yeah, they not only interact, but they kind of merge.
How do you mean they merge?
Well, I mean, for example, a lot of the scenes in the warehouse, right, are sparse, dark, etc. When the computer system goes into the real world, what you're seeing is the red lines over the black, grey, blue skyscrapers. Yeah, so it looks like,
These aren't so very different.
They begin to merge a little bit. They're distinct, but you could see the interactions between them. And the only time that you get a sense of a world that hasn't merged is the ending, which takes place, I don't know, in Mexico City or someplace like that, right? Where you have the old colonial kind of houses, you have a church at the end, you have a cafe. Yeah, it's not that steel and glass kind of world.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Just quickly, that's that scene that you mentioned, the chase scene through the streets where they're on the bikes and they're trailing real, because we've seen the light cycles in the previous two films. That's kind of the iconic sort of action scene in both, really. And now it becomes real. And bringing it into the real world, the thing that's really exciting, it reminds me of like Jurassic Park 2, when like, after all of this, we've had two films set on the islands and shit's just going down on the islands, but you're like, why can't they put the dinosaurs in the real world? And they do. Right, and then T-Rex lands in San Francisco, I think it was, and starts stomping around. Like, yes, that's exactly what I want. Like, let's have this impinge on the real world, That's really exciting. And here it's not quite as exciting as it could be, as you say, but like when you see that happening, you're like, oh yeah, they found a new angle, right? They found something else to do. They found something that's quite good fun.
It's really fantastic visually. It's like, really imaginative, and it looks great. And the 3D, we saw it in IMAX 3D. I thought the 3D worked great.
Yeah.
Right? And especially like that first shot where you see a young Jeff Bridges and, the screen is getting closer and closer and closer to you and then dissolves. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. And the film, I think the opening really owes quite a bit to The Matrix, in particular visually, because Matrix has similar imagery of going closer and closer and closer into a screen until you start to see its component parts. So here we see the red, blue and green of the CRT. We go into it, and then it ends. You get and then it ends with just a cursor going tick, 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 and typing. And that's how the Matrix begins. And it's like that seems a very conscious reference, right? And what I really liked as well, this is more subtle, and maybe this is the kind of thing that really matters to me because I'm sort of nerdy about it, but I really like that the film understands and respects the difference between 2D and 3D. What you get in a lot of 3D film, not that you see so much 3D film these days, but what you get in a lot of it is that everything in it is 3D, including screens. So a screen will be showing footage that is itself 3D, which doesn't make sense, right? Like people, we are looking at a 3D world, but TV screens are still 2D in that world. See what I mean? And this film respects that. It understands that, and actually makes a difference. I really liked, in particular, when Ares is put into the original system, Jeff Bridges' original system, Flynn, and he meets Flynn. Jeff Bridges is in 2D. I took my glasses off. Check. He's in 2D, right? So the world is 3D. And Jared Leto is 3D, but Jeff Bridges is not. And actually, if you look closely, he is rendered with that CRT sort of effect on him. And so it makes that, it brings out that difference between the old and the new, and the world in which he lives and the world in which we're living. And I thought, oh, that's beautifully done. They didn't have to do that, and they've thought about it. And I really respond to that kind of thing. And actually, I really responded to everything that was set in that 80s computer because it's got a good sense of humour.
It does.
It's bringing back that imagery that is truly iconic from 82 of those. I mean, when you talk about the worlds being shown here being sparse, that is as sparse as it gets. It's so simple, and the way those light cycles look is so basic now. And when he having seen the chase where they're just riding round and we see the lines being, from above, we see the lines going in sort of all different directions, and then we see Jared Leto ride off on his bike and he has to go at right angles. Really funny, uses sound effects in a really funny way. I loved being in that world, and I thought how great that, like, because it could be too cheesy. It could actually, that kind of thing could be really, really sentimental. Sort of, they could really play up like, oh, remember how it used to be, the film that we all love. It doesn't do that. It's sort of taking the piss out of it a little bit. Like, look how bad this looks compared to now. It also has a great deal of reverence for it and affection for it. But it's not overdoing it, which I really appreciate.
I used to think that Jeff Bridges could do no wrong because I've loved him in so many things. But then I saw him on TV in this movie called The Seventh Son, which was written by Stephen Knight. And I've not quite felt the same about him since because, it's all set in England and he just cannot do an English accent.
Yeah, that man is built to just speak like himself.
Yeah. He's just meant to speak California.
Yeah.
And ever since I realized that, it's kind of, you look at the rest of his performances through that lens, yeah? How California is it?
Yeah, some people don't have quite that level of range. Although Texas, he's always been able to carry off as well. I mean, he always makes sense as that guy who's like the Texas sheriff who's just overeaten at lunch and he has to let his belt out, and like that's the way I feel about him. Like the kind of sort of thing. Like he's very good at that too. But yeah, like I mean, here he's playing, he's playing the dude basically. Right, yeah. That's his role, right? Yeah, man, totally far out. And actually, me not seeing how the film would go in its very obvious way that because Ares goes into that computer in order to get the permanent code so that he can be alive and stuff. And it's like, obviously that's where it has to come from. We know that that's the only place left for them to get this, and the film is not going to spend all its time saying we need to get this code and then not give it to you. But for a moment, when he was in the old machine, he's talking to Jeff Bridges and trying to get the permanence code from him. He's talking about why he loves Depeche Mode, and we've heard him talk about this just before. This is Ares talking about this. And he can't put it into words the way he feels. he says it's just a feeling, and the idea that he can feel is magical, right? And Jeff Bridges' response to that, "Wow, man, far out," type of thing. And that's kind of what gets in the code, really, is, because he's convincing him that he is alive in some way and deserves life in the real world. But for a moment, I was thinking, the thing that Jeff Bridges, as the kind of sage of all this, really needs to know is that if a malicious AI that was very advanced was going to try and convince you to give him the permanence code, this is the kind of shit he would do. He would lose his words. He would he would pretend, right, very convincingly. And for a minute I thought, like, oh, that's the interesting place this film can go, is that secretly underneath all of this, as nice as he seems and as genuine as he seems, Ares has been lying the whole time because he knows how to convince us and blah blah. Like, basically this is what ChatGPT will do to us. Like it probably is already doing it to us. I mean, it's like tangent, right? But it's kind of scary how people are sharing their lives with chatbots. Like they're their partners, they're their friends, they listen to them. We've had this story not long ago, just in the last few weeks, about a kid who killed himself because he was speaking to a chatbot, and the chatbot, like, what they do is they back up everything that you want to hear. You're doing great, you're fantastic, and the chatbot kind of was backing him up on things and basically told him not to talk to his parents and stuff like this. Like, it's fucked, right? And people are, we kind of think that we're very, very smart about this, but we are very quick to assign personality to things. And when something is talking back to you, it's even easier. Anyway, I would like, for a split second, I thought, isn't that somewhere this film should go? And like a really interesting version of this would have done. But it's not that, right? It's an action film. It's a happy film. We're going to end up with the thing about, yes, Pinocchio came to life and now he gets to explore Cuba and all the rest of it.
I mean, it looks good. It looks amazing, actually. It doesn't just look good. It looks amazing and it's fun. But I also thought it was kind of inconsequential. Yeah,
we should also just briefly mention the soundtrack, because it's really being sold on its soundtrack as well. So the last film was sold very heavily on Daft Punk having done the soundtrack, as I mentioned. They actually appear in the film as well. This time the soundtrack is done by Nine Inch Nails. So Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have a track record in soundtracks.
I didn't like the beginning, and I think maybe the volume was too loud. But it really frazzled me, actually.
Yeah?
Yes, it did. I didn't like it at all.
So the style of the music,
jangling my nerves. It was so loud.
Yeah, we saw this in the IMAX Digital, and that's where they pump up the volume to as loud as it can be. And it did make me think at one point, remember when we talked about Superman not long ago, and before that, The Suicide Squad, which was also directed by James Gunn, and how violently loud those films were. And this was getting there for me, but I think the soundtrack is much better balanced than those were. Those seem really shrill, and this had much more depth and bass to it, which kind of spread out the kind of sonic sort of landscape. And I think the music is just better as well. I don't think the music is a patch on what Daft Punk were doing 15 years ago, but I did like it. It grew on me, and it just does start to work. And there is at one point where it is so loud. It's where they're on like the jet ski in the computer world, and they're trying to head towards the gate that will get them back into the real world. And as they approach it, it's kind of this big kind of glowing hole in the ground sort of thing. It gets so loud that I'm thinking, wow, like the people next door must be hearing this. Whatever they're watching, whatever quiet drama they're watching is getting completely ruined by the reverberations. I thought, yes, this is. I love being here for this.
Well, I thought it was too loud. I eased into it, but also I didn't find it, kind of particularly remarkable, really. It worked well, kind of, with the film. I didn't, in terms of music, what I didn't like was the whole joke about Depeche Mode.
Yeah?
I mean, I love Depeche Mode. But really, kind of, do you have to talk about Depeche Mode in comparison to Mozart to validate Depeche Mode? I thought, that was both kind of absurd and kind of said something about the level of thinking in the film, really.
Yeah, you can kind of see why Depeche Mode has been chosen, because there's nothing wrong with Depeche Mode, and they've done some really great songs.
I love them.
But the idea that, like, Depeche Mode is what captures him, as opposed to Mozart, Beethoven, the what is considered the very greatest. Even the Beatles might have been a similar choice. Depeche Mode is there as a bit of a joke.
Yeah, it's what's meant to make him human. One of the things that's meant to make him human. And I think you could have done that in kind of, very different ways than to say, oh, Depeche Mode is better than Mozart.
Yeah, it's sort of like you do get it's. I mean, it feels like a bit of a trope of kind of saying, "What the thing that I really love about being human is eating banana bread, or something like that."
Yeah, exactly.
Like the little things, the
Yes.
cheesy things,
Yes.
as opposed to the things that really actually kind of artistically soar.
Yes. I mean, I just thought it was unwarranted, unnecessary, and it cheapened it, really.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of. I mean, the whole film is sort of what I expected, maybe a little bit better than what I expected, because people had been really talking it down, and I thought, no, what I'm not hearing from people is that it's fun though, which
it's
it
fun,
is,
and I liked it,
and extremely watchable, and very likable in all sorts of ways. So that's what I hadn't been hearing, and that's what I think we ought to correct. If you agree with me.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. It kind of it looks smashing. It was a lot of fun. It's just not great.
Yeah, and it's sort of as great as I suppose I could imagine a film with Jared Leto in the starring role being. Better than Morbius, which admittedly is not saying very much, but I found him very likable, as I say. I think he is kind of a decent fit for the role. It's all just not quite as great as it could be in every sense.
Yeah,
probably other than, well, I was going to say visually, there are visual elements that could be better. There's maybe. The film could have a greater sense of scale, for instance. Like when you see the Recognizer program, which is that big kind of rectangular ship flying through the city. That's supposed to feel really big and really intimidating. Like, wow, the size of the thing we've now unleashed on the real world.
I did feel that.
Okay, I didn't so much, and I wanted to.
Yeah.
So fair enough. I wanted that kind of thing to feel bigger and better than it was, and I think an element of that is, it comes down to the direction ultimately, in whatever form, whether it's visual in terms of timing.
I liked it, and I liked, at the end when it gets all beaten up and whatever, that it leaves like this coruscated burnt metal solid thing, because then you see all the damage. Yeah, that's kind of that it does.
Fair enough.
So no, I liked it. I like that. But I kind of it's also in some ways just not good enough either. Yeah. So
I really recommend it. People should go see it on a nice big screen with a nice loud sound system. Have a good time.
Oh my god! I think if people don't see this on a big screen,
then
kind of they're then I think it's probably not worth seeing really. Because all you get then is like the story, which is not very brilliant.
Yeah, exactly, and the performances, which. Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Fine, workable, not brilliant. Yeah. That's the whole vibe of the film.
Yeah, it's kind of B-movie characters with B-movie actors, basically.
But A-movie production values. I mean, that's the thing I was going to say, because while visually there are some aspects that weren't quite as great as I thought they might be, I sat through the credits, and you should have seen the list of visual effects.
No, I can imagine.
Hundreds. I mean, I agree. I couldn't count them, but we were just sitting there going, "These things are just." The credits had them in 4 columns, and it still took forever to scroll it. So the amount of work that's gone into this visually, you kind of digitally, unbelievable.
It shows.
And
it shows, and it was worth it.
Yeah.
They should have spent more time on the screenplay though.
We'll get ChatGPT to do the screenplay.
So
it's easy enough.
Anyway, so on that note, we both recommended guardedly. So thank you all very much for listening. We're Eavesdropping at the Movies, and we are on
Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and YouTube Music. On social media, we're on Facebook and Twitter at Eavesdrop Movies, and the website is eavesdroppingatthemovies.com.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.